ladies. Let's see here. Welcome, welcome, everybody. Welcome to our second episode of the Native Women's Council. Welcome, welcome, everybody. Welcome to our second episode of the Native Women's Council. Welcome, welcome, everybody. Welcome to our second episode of the Native Women's Council. Welcome, welcome. I'm getting feedback. Is somebody
mute their I just muted mine. Sorry, I forgot to turn it off.
Oh, that's okay. I was like, is that me? Did I mess up? Listen, I'm running without the assistance of Lakota today because my brother, I'm sure he's busy, got stuff going on. So yeah. Hold on. Logistics, 1 second. Welcome everybody. If people are piling into the chat right now, that would be, it's amazing. Come in. Let's see, here's the private. Oh, there we go. There's that. And let me go here. That's so weird. We're waiting on a few more people, so get comfortable, everybody. Serve your coffee, get your drink, do whatever it is you're going to do while we wait. Let's go here. Do whatever it is you're going to do. And I'm going to mute that so I don't hear it. And got it. All right. So I'm going to put you guys on hold for 1 second. And we're going to wait for some other folks to come on in before we do some introductions and get the ball rolling.
Is our honorary tech joining us tonight?
No, our honorary tech, I have not been able to locate him. Yeah, I think he's been busy. I'm sure he's got a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, let me.
Okay.
Please talk amongst yourselves while I handle some logistics back here behind the scenes since I'm my own tech person right now.
Right on. Sounds good. Becky, this is Tammy up here to the far right. Wave, Tammy. I have no idea. And that, of course, is Maya, who is our host. Unfortunately, I don't know this young lady in the middle putting on her earphones. But Hawaii, I'm Mama Bird. That's Becky. To my left, which would be your left as well. And then Tammy up at the far right. And what is your name, darling?
Me, I'm Jacqueline Brown.
Hawaii, Jacqueline, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. Pleasure to meet you as well.
Welcome to the Women's Council.
Thank you.
You might hear my neighbor's dog, Emmett. He thinks he belongs to us. And I smoke a lot on this show. I smoke a lot in private, too.
Smoke a lot of tobacco, eh?
I do.
Yeah.
Becky, once I get moved, you got to come see me.
Yeah, for sure. You know, you're welcome to come down to my house anytime, too.
Girl, you know I will. I will. I'll let you know next time I'm your way.
Yeah. Anytime. I was actually looking, checking with some friends. There's a protest on the 24th, so about 2 weeks from now, at the Muskogee Creek Nation Tribal Services, the Children's Services Office. So if you want to come down for the ICWA,
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you want
Yeah,
to come
I
down to
do.
that, it's in Okmulgee, but if you want to come meet me here and then I can drive the rest of the way, or
Right on. You know, I'll help you with
it's
that.
early in the morning. It's at 9, so they're doing it when the offices are open. So
Okay, so I leave my house at 7, meet you at 8. That'll get us there by 9, right?
yeah, I'll fly.
All right. Well, if I need to leave earlier, just let me know because I can. That's not a problem. Hell, I can leave at 6.
No, I'll drive fast.
So what area are y'all in?
Becky and I are in Oklahoma. Becky's a member of the Muskogee Creek Nation. Isn't that right, Becky?
Yeah.
And I am Osage. Originally from the Osage Osage County. Tammy, I like the way how Tammy tells her. I'm just really taking over introducing everybody. I apologize. Tammy, you can speak. I'm not giving you permission. I'm apologizing for taking over. Tammy.
I think she
Turn
said
your
she was
mic
working on technical stuff.
She's on mute.
Lord
I
have
think.
mercy, my mic was muted. I'm talking away. I am up on
Jacqueline
Lake
was-
Erie in northern Ohio.
And she is
Can
a
y'all
member of
hear
the
me?
Cherokee Nation.
Okay.
And of course,
Sorry, I'm
mine
playing
is
with my new
Apache
toy.
out of California.
Wow, that's the wrong one.
Is Amy joining us?
Oh, hello,
one.
everybody.
Bua.
Hello.
Is Amy joining us tonight?
I hope so.
She's getting Jacoby settled. She sent me a text message, and then she'll be in.
Okay, cool. So everybody's done introductions. My name's Maya, Mescalero Apache and Gascon, a band of Chichimeca from Mexico. I am reporting from California. I will be your host, at least I will attempt to be, because listen, I just got back from vacation with my children the last 3 days. So I am a hot mess. I am not in any way, shape, or form organized right now, but that's all right. We're going to make this happen. Everybody introduced themselves. Everybody said hello. Sweet. Good. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. I wanted to do some ICWA updates. We have our beautiful Jacqueline here. She's very well versed in ICWA. She's worked with, adoptees, right, with adoptions and stuff in Texas. She's had trainings on ICWA. She gave me a whole bunch of information pre-show in terms of recourse and what kinds of things we can do to minimize the brunt of, these ramifications if ICWA were to be stricken down or dismantled. She made a ton of good points. Hello, Oja, Annie, my sisters. Little Mike brother, I love you. I'm so sorry. I sent you a text. I figured it out. I figured you were busy. I didn't want to bother, and so I handled it. But I appreciate you very, very much. I hope you're not too irritated with me. So yeah, Jacqueline, if you could take it away. I know we were talking about ICWA earlier, and we were discussing, different, specifically in Texas, what the laws look like, what you've been trying to do in terms of, talking about this and getting information out to people. And for those of you who are joining us who don't know what ICWA is, anybody want to say what ICWA is? I know we touched on it last. Jacqueline, go ahead. I'm sure.
Okay. So ICWA is the Indian Child Welfare Act. It was developed in 1978 as a response to the disproportionate amount of Indian or Native American children that were being removed from their families. So ICWA, the lawsuit, it's a couple different states and then a couple private parties. Sorry, I'm trying to hear myself and not hear myself. But so the lawsuit against ICWA. This is the first time it's been sued on whether it's constitutional. And that lawsuit began in 2018. The Fifth Circuit ruling came back April of 2021. And then the petitions, there were 4 different petitions that were submitted in September. But essentially, ICWA is what gives tribes power and looks out for the tribal children's best interest when it comes to placement. It's what ensures that they're placed most likely with their tribe, with people of their heritage, as opposed to just being placed with any other family. So it's a law that's no other race or ethnicity has, which is why you hear so much about the Fifth Amendment issues and all of that going on with it. But
it
it's an
also
interesting law.
Jacqueline, you also need to let them know it guarantees the possibility of a kinship placement as well.
Yes, yeah, that's huge. It definitely does guarantee the possibility of a kinship placement. And kinship placement, for anyone who doesn't know, is going to be like a family placement, like a biological family placement. So whether that be cousin, aunt, sister, sibling, essentially keeping the child with a biologically related relative. What a lot of people don't know about ICWA is actually that children adopted under ICWA, those adoptees have more rights than U.S. adoptees. Mm-hmm. So, like, for instance, if you're adopted under ICWA, you have the potential for access to your records. They'll give you access to your records. They'll let you know what tribe you are at, that kind of information. Whereas in the U.S., all adoptees' records are sealed, and only 9 states allow unrestricted access to original birth certificates for adoptees. So that's one of the few things that people really understand about ICWA is it's one of the few things that allows some adoptees in the United States a little bit more rights than the rest. So it'd be a huge step back for adoptees in general if ICWA was to be lost, because then all adoptees would go back to essentially where U.S. adoptees are, where most of them don't have access to their records or their original birth certificates or their health records.
Right. And you had mentioned when we were talking earlier. Uh-oh. Oh, I lost audio with her. Jacqueline, are you there?
Yeah,
I couldn't hear.
I can hear you.
Part. Oh, okay. I couldn't hear the last part. Is someone typing?
I hear someone typing.
Yeah, someone's typing, not me.
No, it's not typing. It's static.
Oh. I was like, who is typing? Someone is busy taking notes.
It's somebody. Somebody's got a staticky connection.
Gotcha.
Can we do this, Maya? Whenever
what?
anybody's let's go ahead and shut our mics off. And if anybody's talking, of course, leave that mic on. And then the next person, let's just raise our hands if we're going to speak. Then we can unmute our mics. I think that'll help cut that down.
Sister, if we raise our hands every time someone is going to speak, we'll be here all night long.
Well, all right, then. I'll just interrupt nonstop.
No, Jacqueline, you were mentioning how important it was that fathers knew the laws, right? The adoption laws and that stuff. And can you speak a little bit more on that in terms of their states, regulations and stuff surrounding ICWA and adoption and all of that stuff, and the importance of the dads actually getting involved?
Yes. So one of the biggest things is
regardless of what the outcome is with the ICWA lawsuit, it's going to become more and more important in the future for male tribal members to be familiar with their state's paternity laws. And each state has kind of different paternity laws. Texas is a little weird. We have what's called a paternity registry. And so essentially, a alleged or a potential father could have relations with a woman and say, okay, now if this woman has a baby around this amount of, like around this time frame, I want it known that I am interested in rights in that child. And it sounds, I mean, it sounds ludicrous, but it's the system. But in Texas, in order to place for adoption, only notification is required. And so you only have to try to notify the alleged father. So with that being said, a lot of agencies, and Texas is not known for having the most ethical adoption procedures. I was adopted in Texas, and my agency was actually shut down for having an illegal baby selling ring in 2002. So yeah, we're not we're not particularly famous for having a great system, and there's no federal regulations over domestic infant adoptions. But for instance, that paternity registry, that's one of the few things that could prevent a private domestic infant adoption for a baby that should have tribal membership. That say the biological mom claimed she didn't know who the father was, or she claimed that he didn't have tribal membership, or she had someone else claim he was the father. It's one of those things. It's a really tricky business. And so it's really important to know each state's paternity laws. Otherwise, you potentially have a child out there that's placed for adoption, and you'll never know until they do an ancestry test, 18 years from now. And so, and agencies are getting more and more desperate and more slick with their techniques, because there's been a dive in fertility. There's been a dive in just births in general. COVID had a huge impact on the birth rate. And so, and domestic infant adoption in the United States is a $14 billion industry. And so the shortage of infants is going to be huge. And so they're going to be desperate to get whatever babies they can, which, I mean, sounds horrible, but just to be, completely straight, that's just how the industry kind of works. And so it really is important, if you, especially like for tribal members, since you are trying to preserve your cultural history, your tribes, excuse me, it's important to know those paternity laws. It's important to protect paternity rights on any children you may have in the future by knowing those laws now, before that's even a possibility.
Well, according to ICWA, they have 10 days to locate not just the father, but also direct kinship placement. There could be, the father could have siblings or the father's parents, to offer that child to that family before it's placed with another indigenous family. Now that I know.
So for instance, in Texas, the paternity registry, you have 31 days. So if 31 days the father hasn't gone on that registry, or at 31 days they check that registry, and if he hasn't gone on that registry, then that child's free for placement, ICWA included, because that's included in that. If he was wanting to claim those rights, then he should have gone on the paternity registry, how it's seen.
But again, then that's a violation of the federal law, because federal law states that within that 10 days, they have to reach out, even if the father doesn't want the child. They have to go with they have to find out with direct kinship meaning the grandparents, aunts, uncles, even first cousins. They are supposed to reach out to that child's tribe, their family, to see if they are interested in placing that, in having that child placed in their home. That's a federal law.
Well, and unfortunately, ICWA already is considered one of the most ignored federal laws in the United States.
And you have to remember, a lot of times they're depending on these social workers to either find out the child is Native or know the resources that are required for a Native child. And a lot of times these social workers don't have a clue.
Or the mother hasn't named that, she could have named this other person as the father. That person could have claimed, oh yeah, no, for sure, I'm the father, signed over a waiver of interest. And no one even has a clue that there's the potential for a Native American father. I mean, they do sign a Indian Child Welfare Act waiver, like a waiver saying that they don't have tribal membership, the father doesn't have tribal membership, but you're going based off of, even if it's like you said, even if it's just the social worker, you're still going based off this one person's testimony, which is shaky at best, because if she's thinking there's any way he's going to prevent that adoption, a lot of times she's not wanting him to know. Does that make sense? Like, if she's wanting that adoption to go through, if she's wanting, this to move forward, and she thinks he's going to step in and say no, like hold the phone, then she's going to try to prevent any awareness of his existence.
Well, we saw
and then
that
by the
back
time
in
anyone knows,
2014.
it'll be the 6 months down the road. Well, placement will have already happened. And so that's why you have these messy lawsuits, because people are like, well, how does this happen?
Veronica Brown case.
Yeah, exactly. That's where people are like, how do these lawsuits happen? And it's, it's easier than you think. Because it's not,
like I said,
they're not based on DNA.
Well, we actually, everything you just said, we actually saw that in 2013 and 2014 with the Veronica Brown case here in Oklahoma with the Cherokee Nation.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, that case that validates everything you're stating right there. Anybody?
And she was awarded to the adopted parents, right?
Yes. After she had spent 2 years with her biological father and his family. At 4 years of age, they returned her back to a white couple that she didn't even remember.
Yeah.
So,
and it's really sad. It really is. It's kind of this, what's tough about ICWA is they're bringing in, like, I've read the petition that Ken Paxton had written, and they're bringing in this whole Fifth Amendment, this race issue, like, oh, well, it's unfair to white couples. But the thing that they're not really considering is like, okay, but it's not about the couple, it's about the child, and it's what people don't realize is how much of personality and interest is genetic. And so honestly, keeping these children within tribes and keeping them within, families that look similar to them, it really does spare adoptees a lot of trauma that they have to experience when they're placed in a home that has a whole different culture than them. And when you think about a cultural loss is one more loss on top of a huge amount of losses for adoptees. It's just, that to me is the biggest or the saddest thing. Because I'm fairly white, as you can tell. But I was adopted by, a very, very white couple. And it was very obvious that I was adopted. I have an older brother who's adopted from another family, and my younger sister's not. And from the time I can remember, I remember having to know how to answer, yes, I'm adopted, like knowing how to answer those questions. And so sparing a child that, I don't think is is a racist thing to do. I think it's humane. But then again, they're not really asking adoptees what they think.
The audio.
Sorry, guys. I'm trying to help Amy get in. She's having issues connecting. So
You know
I'll
what?
be back.
I'm having JoJo's having issues connecting as well. She can't get in for some reason.
Yeah, it says that the live on the YouTube page was done and only 13 minutes long when she tried to go to the live.
What?
So yeah, I don't know why. She said it says it's not coming up as a live. It said it was only 13 minutes long.
My site says that we're actually live streaming right now. That is so weird.
Yeah. So
Um,
I just sent her both links via TikTok and text. So hopefully she'll be able to get in.
awesome. Yeah, I just put the StreamYard link in the comments here as well.
Yeah, I don't know.
That is so weird. See, the one time I don't have my IT guy here. Oh, Lord.
Yeah, because I just put the StreamYard link into this website or to the search bar and it popped me right in here.
Yeah, I know. That's what I think Jacqueline did the same thing. She clicked the link I sent her and she popped right in. So I don't know. That's so weird. I know, and I'm really excited to have JoJo on too, because she's got she's something special, that lady. She's got some good information and she wants to touch on Leonard Peltier, since yesterday was his birthday. She wants to talk about, you know, some of his organizations and stuff as well, his activism. And we've got a lot of other issues to talk about in terms of just content and stuff that we've been seeing, and you know, how we feel about okay, I'm gonna try to
Mama Bird needs added back.
Okay, and JoJo's telling me to call her. Oh my goodness, let me add Mama Bird back and then call JoJo. Oh, hello. I just added her back. Is she there?
Her box popped up. Nope. She says she's there.
Hi. She's like frozen. Is she frozen for you guys?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I'm glad Annie in the comments says she has all night, because it looks like that's what it's gonna be. Oh my goodness. Can you add me back, please? Okay, let me call JoJo real quick.
Oh, but anyway, y'all were saying y'all were in Oklahoma. I'm in San Antonio, Texas, so I'm below y'all.
Oh, nice. Not well, far, but not too far.
Not too far.
That's
A little
awesome.
fun.
So I have a question for you though. Like,
Can you all hear me okay?
yeah, I hear you now.
Gotcha, Mama.
Oh, froze again.
Okay, I'm gonna go
Oh, there you go.
I'm gonna go restart and then I'll be back.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you
What's
all
your
hear
question?
me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Y'all can hear me? Okay. All right. I'm going to go and restart. I think that's going to help. It's I know I'm having trouble with my connection.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I'll be back.
Okay.
So Becky, what was your question?
So my thing is like, what can we do to help? Like boots on the ground, advocate, aside from writing letters to our councilmen and chiefs and then state representatives, of course, too, like what are some things that we can do to help push the issue further or help I get more backing? Because it almost seems to me like I took a course on ICWA under the head of our tribe that runs our ICWA department. And I asked her, like, what can we do? And she was like, right now, all we can do is just pray for better legislation. And I'm like, okay, there has to be better answers than we're just on a hope and a prayer right now. So,
yeah. Well, I think one of the people that's supposed to join is an attorney. So I think she'd probably be the best one to address that specifically. Like I said, the best thing I think, other than just, since I'm going to let her address the legal side of it, I think just spreading awareness on whatever your state's paternity laws are huge, because I mean, I can't tell you how many men I've worked with in Texas. I mean, I've been doing, social work and human services for 5-6 years, and I don't think I've known anyone who knew what the paternity registry was beforehand. And so
I've never heard of it.
Yeah. And so it's one of those things that it's not, I mean, it's how things are run, but it's not common knowledge. So making sure whatever your state's paternity laws are, which tend to be kind of obscure and kind of weird, making sure those are common knowledge, and especially common knowledge within tribes, whether it's, making an infographic or whatever, that's like, like, here, if you need to know this information, you got to know her first name, last name, date of birth, like, so it just, those kinds of things are, I mean, they don't seem as important at the time, but they're hugely important later.
I couldn't imagine thinking to go file a paternity registry, like the amount of planning that takes. I don't know, on top of everything else.
So basically what it is the father or the man who created this child or supposedly created the child has 31 days to go and register on this registry. After 31 days, he loses all parental rights to this child forever, correct?
Yeah.
31 days from what, though? Like
31 days from when the potential conception happened to when 31 days after the child potentially is born. So essentially it's, they check the registry at 31 days after, usually after the child's born. And then if there's no, like, there's nothing that pops up, then it's like, okay, then placement to the adoptive family will proceed. And then it always takes 6 months at least to close in domestic infant child adoption. So there's always 6-month placement because there's post-placement visits. But it's one of those things. Yeah, there's less and less international adoptions happening too, and I don't think people realize that as well, because just different countries are enforcing stricter regulations. There's not as much history being shared, and so with that decrease, and then like I said, with COVID decreasing the birth rate so significantly, and then the fertility decline, it's just kind of this catalyst that you see, this butterfly effect that makes it really vital to know your potential rights when it comes to this. Because like I said, say you have a son who's, even if he's a minor, you still want to make sure he knows this information. So that way, you wouldn't want to know, like if I potentially had a grandchild out there, I'd want to know, But like you said, even though the law says a grandparent should be notified, one judge, I can't remember who the judge was, but they said that ICWA was the most federally ignored law in the history of the United States. So
I'm still stuck on the 31-day registry thing. That just blows my mind that it's 31 days and then you lose your rights forever.
Yes.
Wow.
and it really is up to the agency and whoever's working with that client, or that expectant mother, because it's whether or not they can get that person to open up and really tell them all the potential alleged fathers, because they have to name everyone the month before, the month during, and the month after potential conception. And all of those alleged fathers have to be contacted. And it could be potentially a lot. I handled one case that I think had the most in the state. And I think it was something like over 20 different alleged fathers in over 5 different states. Yeah. But that was the thing, is every single one of them I made sure was contacted. But that's the other thing. I was an adoptee working in domestic infant adoption, which is unheard of. And so ethics and making sure I did everything completely by the book was huge, because I know how I would feel if an adoption was potentially overturned. But to other people, it's just a job. So it's kind of yeah, and that's the thing. It depends on how fastidious that caseworker is and how diligent they are, and like they have to, write out an affidavit of diligence search. But it might just be like, oh well, we looked on social media, we looked in the newspaper, we looked in this. There's a couple different things. And so that's usually in Texas what they do in addition is they'll do a notice in the newspaper in addition to the paternity registry. Mm-hmm. Who looks in the newspaper?
I know some states that don't even do. Yeah, I know our state doesn't do birth announcements or anything like that anymore. They don't do any of that. So that would be something that, I think they ended that here in the 80s or 90s, if I'm not mistaken. So that would be something that they wouldn't even have as a resource to use.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane.
So yeah, that's why it's important to just, for everyone, whether it's man or woman, to know those rights.
Muted. Okay, we got her on.
I think you're on mute.
Yeah, you're muted. She's probably still on the phone with Maya.
Can y'all hear JoJo?
No.
Let's see. Unmute
Is
my.
she muted?
You unmuted it, but then you muted it again, JoJo. There we go. Can y'all hear her? Kind of, sort of.
No.
There you are. Yep. I just heard you right now. Can y'all hear her now? Okay.
Barely.
Can you hear me now? Good. Can you hear me now? No, you need a. Oh, there's Amy. You may need to turn the volume.
Hello?
There you go. Yep.
Oh my God, what an ordeal.
Okay, so
I feel like I just was going down on the plane or something. We were going to crash.
All right. So Mama and Amy are still connecting.
Yeah, Amy's connecting. Mama is not even in the.
She was having connection issues.
Oh,
she's not on the airplane with us yet.
Gotcha.
I'm sorry, ladies. I'm going to have a cigarette.
No. Mama was.
Ooh, go right
that
ahead.
was terrible.
Woohoo! So everybody, I would like to introduce you to. Hold on, should I let you have your smoke real quick, JoJo?
No, that's okay. I'll hide it.
Okay, no, you don't have to hide it. This is the lovely and beautiful JoJo.
Yeah, right.
She is our special panelist this evening. I'm so very excited to have her on. She is an attorney and also worked alongside Dennis Banks at Dennis Banks Enterprises as his attorney as well, correct? Am I right?
Yes.
There you go. So I'm really, there's Aunt Callie, cool. I'm really happy to have JoJo on here. Hello, Aunt
Hi,
Kelly.
Kaylee.
Hi guys.
Oh,
Sorry I'm
see,
late.
now we're gonna get it popping. Now we're gonna get it popping. Everybody's here. I'm so excited. We've been talking about ICWA like for this entire time for 45 minutes.
Are you kidding?
No, trying to troubleshoot everybody getting on. And we've been discussing ICWA. Is there anything you'd like to add before we move on to?
I don't know. I didn't hear the conversation. Oh, I'd just like to say this. Maybe you guys already did this. I think it's like really, maybe I'm missing the big picture here, but it seems really open and shut to me is they seem to be misreading the law, the plaintiffs. They're saying, basically, I see the main issue as an attorney. I see the main issue as, is this it would be unconstitutional if it was based on race. Okay, but it's not, because Indian is not a racial classification. It's a political status. And that seems to be what the court in my eyes are missing is, it's not placed, the child is, we're not basing this on race. Indian in this country under Morton v. Mancarey v. Morton, or Morton v. Mancarey, it was finally established that indeed Indians are a political classification. If I say I'm an Indian, I'm not telling you I'm telling you way more than an ethnicity. Yeah. I'm telling you, that I have a political relationship with the government.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Oh.
I was reading on the Bernhardt versus Harlan case, and one of the provisions they did. Now I'm not a lawyer, but I'm reading up and I'm trying to do my research. They did strike down some provisions of ICWA on the Fifth Circuit in that case. Concerning number one, they did recognize it's about sovereignty, not race-based. One of the judges did say that, but one of the provisions I'm more worried about when it comes to erasure is that states are not required to keep record of each child placed in homes.
Oh, well, that's okay. That's more dicta. So, but I'm just saying, I was just putting in my 2 cents. What I see is
I admire you so much. So I'm asking, like as a layman over here, like, what do you think about that?
I know what you're saying, and yeah, I see that as a definite concern that you have. It's valid, and it should be addressed. Yeah, mm-hmm. But the court, I think, will come down. It's like the main issue when you cut through everything. The black and white issue is this a race-based classification? Because if it is, it's unconstitutional, and they will dismantle it. But it's not. It's not. And I think we're pretty safe. Of course, they could be flat out wrong, but I don't think I am.
Yeah. So that's basically the gist of the defense of ICWA, is that this is not a race-based piece of legislation.
I don't think it is. Yeah, but that's what they're coming in and saying, why it's unconstitutional. Texas is saying this is race-based, and we can't allow that. And it's not.
There you go. There you go.
And that would be the case. This all started because this is my state, and I remember it was concerning the Navajo children, right? It was what started here in Texas was the two Navajo, the brother and sister children, where they tried to say that there was even a point where they quoted in the media, we have money, we have this, we have that, we can do this, and it broke to the hearts of the media to be like, oh, these people are willing to give them a good home compared to what the natives can give them, so media also, would you think media would play a big role in this if this were to go center stage?
I missed the last part. You went, somebody went out. I'm sorry, honey. The last part again?
So if it were to go mainstream, let's say media-wise, because this is going to be a quite big case, playing the roles of how they're going to do race-based was it Brecken versus Holland? I think it was.
Don't worry about the case, just the facts. Yeah.
Where they did say in the media, the family that tried to adopt the two Navajo children were saying, hey, we're professionals. We have money. We can give them a better life if we can do this. And if the media comes into play, that might also.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're saying that the media might embrace that and say this is all about it is more about race. Is that what you're thinking the media will go with
Race
that?
and the sympathy towards children, and then we do have a conservative Supreme Court now.
We do,
you know,
but again, this is one thing that's in our favor is that it's been established that this is the gold standard. That's what they're calling it. This is that ICWA is the gold standard. If you're a state looking to model a law on how to place children, a procedural process, they actually model state laws after ICWA, because it's been established that ICWA is really successful at looking out for the best interest of the child. So ICWA, if you read it, even if you've got a white relative and an Indian relative, okay, which could happen if you have a biracial child, that some of the relatives will be Indian and some will be non-Indian, and they may not base their decision at all on the color of the skin, or if that family member is Native versus another family member that's non-Native. They can't look at that. They've got to look through that and see what would be in the best interest of the child. So I bring that up as an example to say that this is a safeguard that ICWA puts in place, and it's another feature that proves it's not race-based. If it was race-based and it was all about let's just put the child with an Indian family, then it would be more stringent when it comes to having an Indian relative versus a non-Indian relative. See what I'm saying?
I have a question. So besides the Fifth Amendment, it seems like the Texas petition is going after the Commerce Clause, the anti-commandeering doctrine, and then the non-delegation doctrine. Do you have any concerns about any of those? Or
oh, you know what? You're way over my head there. All I know is they're saying I can't say this. My second concern would be, because you've obviously done your homework way more than I have, but the second thing that they're saying is that Congress doesn't really have the right, they never had the right or the power to go in and start legislating child welfare laws. That's not Congress's place, even in Indian affairs. But I say they're wrong because of plenary powers. It states right in the Constitution that Congress shall have plenary powers over Indian tribes. And plenary just is a fancy word for all powers, the most you can have. So Congress, I think, is well within its bounds to have constructed a child welfare law, especially when it was really needed in 1978. I didn't know this. Let me just add this. I think this is interesting, and you guys may have already brought it up, and I apologize if you did, but it's really interesting. And it's some of the research I did do in the 15 minutes before I got on here. I didn't know that in 1978, think about this. If you're a Native person, 1 out of 3 children were being removed from the home. Yep, 1 out of 3. So if you had a child, think about it, your chances of that child being removed from your home was really steep. And now, a lot of people say, and Texas is saying this also in their brief, that there's no need for ICWA anymore. We're not in 1978. That's not happening anymore. It turns out, if you read the statistics in one of the Friends of the Court briefs, they say that here we are in 2021, and maybe 1 out of 3 children aren't being taken, but still Native children are being removed from the home by private and public agencies at 2 to 3 times more, a faster rate than non-Native children. So they get removed 2 to 3 times faster, or more, I'm sorry, not faster, more so than non-Native children. So that's still a really big number. So I think it's not a racial based classification. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Hello? Can you guys hear me?
I was
Yeah,
going to tell you.
I hear
sister.
you.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna wrap it up, and
Can
you guys
you hear
can
me?
add your, yeah.
Okay.
It's not. I don't think it violates the Constitution because Congress has the right to make that law because they have plenary powers over tribes. And number two, it doesn't violate. It's not a racially based classification, so
Sure.
it doesn't violate any sort of equal rights or discrimination laws that we may have.
Right.
And number three, what was the third thing we were talking about? There's still a need for it. There's absolutely still a need for ICWA.
Jojo, I have a question from the comment section. Our brother Oja asks, he says, ask the sister what we can do to secure our babies if ICWA deteriorates.
Oh dear. I think we'd have to lobby. I think you'd need, if ICWA's gone, you're going to need a new law in place. I don't think we can do it without legislation.
Yeah.
And you know what? That would be an opportunity, though, for tribes to test our sovereignty and say, wait a minute, if you're going to take away ICWA, we're going to replace it with a tribal law. And we assert that we have sovereignty over our own children.
Yes.
And then it would probably run up through the Supreme Court. But I think, I'm just talking off the top of my head, but I think that might be an opportunity to test and see how strong our sovereignty is becoming.
Yeah.
Well, sister, I wanted to touch base on what you were saying a little while ago about 1978. That actually started in 1958. It took 20 years with burden of proof to prove how rapidly our children were being removed for anything. This is why we saw the 60s scoop. We saw falsified documents, people coming in, taking their children, making accusations. But they, what were our people going to do? I know many who were victims of the 60s scoop. And that was something that they were trying to put a halt to because these children didn't even know they were Native unless their adopted parents said, oh, by the way, you're an Indian child. We got you.
A lot didn't know they were adopted.
Yeah.
I hear you, sister. And you make an excellent point. There was definitely a need for ICWA. And like you say, it didn't start in 1978. It took years and years. And you know what? It probably took, even before 1958, I'm sure with the scoop, we all know that it went back to the reservation days when people, it was in vogue perhaps to have an Indian child as opposed to if you couldn't get a white child, they didn't want an African-American one. So you got an Indian one. It's rather disgusting, but it's the way it was and probably still is.
It is the way it still is.
Canada. Canada was the world's worst because they had these brochures they put out like damn catalogs to pick and choose babies, to pick and choose children to adopt. It was a damn catalog. They had pictures of these children with their stats in there. And these parents coming in were like, okay, I'll take that Native child. I'll adopt that one.
Oh, who does this apply to?
Part of it.
Oh, go ahead. I thought you were done. I'm sorry.
Well, that was a part of it. No, I apologize. That was a part of ICWA as well, is because they were able to prove how devastating it was on these children. Once they discovered who they were, once they actually discovered what they were taken away from and the real story behind their capture. And let's call it what it is. They were captured. And it's like, we've got to have something in place to protect these children. Now, is ICWA just upholding and just outstanding? No, it's not. There's a lot of corruptness within ICWA itself, within tribes. So, but however, I'll still fight to keep ICWA in place. And I know there's a lot of states out there that have legislation that back up ICWA. But the fact is, federal law trumps state law. It trumps
and what we
law.
have to figure out, like we were saying a minute ago, what would be interesting is to find out, you're right, we do need ICWA. But if we did lose ICWA, which I don't think we're going to, but if we did lose ICWA, we know that federal law trumps state law. But what would happen if we take ICWA out of the picture and the tribe forms their own law? I think that would be really interesting then for the courts to say, no, you can't do that. Because I think they could.
And I know that federal law trumps state law, but let's remember that state law also, states regulate themselves as well. So if ICWA's stricken down at a federal level, that doesn't necessarily mean that every state is going to reverse whatever ICWA laws or regulations that they have in place.
Unless, my friend, unless they were to find it unconstitutional, then the states couldn't do it.
Yeah.
My main concern is back in 2018. My main concern is Native erasure, because on my platform, my platform is a lot of younger, also reconnecting older Natives, that were part of the scoop or so on and so forth. My main concern when I started reading about these court cases is the provision that was knocked down about how states do not have to, are not required to carry the documentation with the Native child. But that also doesn't pertain to the BIA, where you have to prove your blood quantum and lineage. So if a kid doesn't know, like, let's just say the kid does know they're Native,
yeah,
but they don't have the record, and we all know the processes of it. You got to have your roll numbers, you got to have this, that, and the fourth, that at the very least get your CDIB card through the BIA. What kind of effect would that have on the child concerning if they're being fostered by non-Native people? They don't have the documentation to prove that they're Native, therefore go through the BIA to start their either CDIB or their tribal enrollment. And that's my main concern when it's concerned to erasure.
Well, realistically, they won't have access to their records, because that's the field that I work in, is adoption more so. In adoption, all records are sealed. And so they wouldn't, like most agencies would probably consider the name of their tribe as identifying information. And so that information wouldn't be revealed to the adoptee.
But you know what? Here's the one, I don't know how this plays into it at all, but it's got to play in some part. And that's the eligibility. Who's eligible? What child is eligible for ICWA? And we know there's two things. Either it has to be presently enrolled in a tribe, a federally recognized tribe, and or it has to be the biological child of a tribal member who could enroll it if they wanted. So somehow that information has got to be carried through the process. You know what I mean? To establish this child in the beginning was actually eligible for ICWA. And the only way you could be eligible is to either be a member of that federally recognized tribe or have a biological parent there. Somehow that would have to, and like you said, you're a professional there. How do you think that would, how would that play into the, to the record, to the main record?
So that's what we were kind of talking about earlier a little bit, was I was saying, I think regardless of what happens with ICWA, one of the most important things moving forward is going to be that men with tribal membership understand their state's paternity laws and basically just how that works. Because in Texas, we have a paternity registry. And so from the moment of potential conception until 31 days after the child's born, they can go on that registry and say, like, hey, if this person has a baby around this time, I don't want that baby, like,
really?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
And so, but very few men know that in Texas. And only notification is required for adoption.
What's that noise? Do you guys hear a big noise?
It sounds like a bird.
That's what it sounds like, Mama. I thought like you were playing a joke on us.
No,
my mic's on mute.
It's my birds. I'm muting it. I'm going to mute my mic.
I thought it was birds.
It is.
And then I
It's
thought, no, I'm
Amy's
crazy.
birds. Amy's birds join us for every panel discussion that we have, just so you know.
That's
Well,
too
look at them.
funny.
There they are.
What happened to Mama Bird? I always call her Mama. I don't know what her first name is anymore.
I think she's having connection issues.
Yeah,
she's been having connection issues all evening. So
yeah, she'll be bouncing in and out.
yeah. So I think that this ICWA discussion was super productive, but I know, Jojo, that you wanted to talk about Leonard Peltier's freedom movement, seeing as how it was his birthday yesterday.
Yeah, I thought it would be good to bring it up briefly. And that is that yesterday was Leonard's 77th birthday.
Yikes.
And I'm on the international committee, the Leonard Peltier International Defense Committee. And so that gives us an opportunity. The press covered it. We had some good marches in honor of his birthday. But basically, it stands like this. He's been in well over 45 years.
Yeah.
And he's not in good health. And he needs to get out. We need to get his sentence commuted somehow. And we just need the public now to reach out and call those numbers, sign petitions if you see them. And what we were talking about, Maya, was Leonard is really in there. I fully believe he's innocent. And he was actually, he served as one of Dennis's bodyguards for a while. And I believe in his innocence fully, or I wouldn't be on the committee. But we're at the point, he was in there not because he killed 2 agents, because I don't believe he did.
No.
But because of AIM. Because I do believe he's a political prisoner. I think that they wanted to dismantle AIM, and with a lot of revolutionary movements, the most efficient way to bring down a movement is to start locking people up and making people fear each other's snitching on them.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what happened here, only they ran into 3 brick walls. Actually, they ran into 5. Dennis, Russell, Leonard, Rob Robidoux, and Dwayne, what's the, I can't, it's just like a blank. The 3rd co-defendant. As you may know, you may not know, in Leonard's case, it was so egregious. He should even be in jail because, in prison, he was extradited from Canada. And I'll go this far, and we don't really need to go into the rest of it, because this to me is just the most egregious thing. The FBI needed to get him extradited back here, but we had the death penalty. So Canada was like, no way, I'm not sending him back there if there's a death penalty. So they agreed to take the death penalty off the table. And then they said, we want evidence somehow that he was involved with this. So they found a mentally incompetent woman. She was Sue, Myrtle Poorbear. And they threatened to take her child. She had 1 daughter. And she was probably operating on the level of about an 11-year-old, I think. Myrtle was. And they got her to sign not 1, not 2, but 3 affidavits that said, she was there and saw him commit these crimes. And she wasn't even there. She even said in court, she said she never laid eyes on Leonard till she walked in the courtroom. And she said that they coerced her and everything. But the point that I'm making is the FBI, even before the trial began, they had falsified knowingly 3 affidavits. I mean, affidavits that extradited him back.
Right.
And it just went downhill from there. It really did. There was ballistics tests. There was exculpatory evidence that they didn't hand over to the defense. That's like unheard of.
Right.
But, it did happen. And here we are, 46 years later. It's been over 45. It's between 46 and 47. And he's still in there.
So this is where we call on our Native Women's Council. And I'm actually going to plug right now our brothers warrior society that they're putting together. We have to revitalize this fight. We have to get our young people involved again. We have to put our voices out there. We have to create content that moves in the direction of aiding these movements, getting our political prisoners out of jail. This is 40 some years of being behind bars for something that he did not do because he is Indian, because he is an American Indian, because of his involvement with AIM.
Yes.
So I think that one of the things that our joint councils, both the Native Women's Council and the Warrior Society, that OJA and Lakota and KP are trying to organize, is doing just that. It's getting these movements revitalized. And Jojo, we spoke about it briefly before the show, how you had mentioned that Dennis said, our goals when Dennis and John Trudell and Russell Means were in that fight were their goals for their generation, right?
Yeah.
And our generation may have different movements, right? Different ideas.
Absolutely.
Different goals.
Yeah, that's what, we talked about it at Standing Rock, and Dennis loved young people.
Mhm.
And he would talk to them and he would ask them, what matters to you as a Native person? What could AIM do for you? Why would you join AIM? And to what extent would you become involved? And what would it take for you to go all the way? He actually had one guy in the longest walk that he nicknamed, or he renamed him. His Indian name was All the Way Ray. Yeah. And it's because Dennis would ask people when they went on the longest walk, he would say, how much time can you give me? How much time can you give this movement? Right. And some of them would say a month, some of them would say a week. And this one gentleman, Ray said, he said, how far can you go with me? And Ray said, all the way. And he said, well, then you're all the way, Ray. And but Dennis was very very aware that his goals, when he was a co-founder along with the Belcourt brothers and some others. Russell actually came along. Mr. Means came along a little later and became like one of the stars of the show. But their goals were different from the other generation, like at Standing Rock. And what we need to find out, AIM needs to talk to the young generation, the up and coming generation, and see, what issues matter to you? What issues affect you? What do you want AIM? What can they work on for you? What would matter enough to get you involved? We need that passion back that Dennis and John, what drove these people to Alcatraz? Yep. What drove them to occupy the Bureau of Indian Affairs in 1972? Yep. What drove them to Wounded Knee? We need that kind of passion again. And I think if we had that kind of passion with the progress of sovereignty that we've made, wow, just think where we'd be.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly. It's a new movement, and it's a new time, and we really do. I'm so excited about the new blood, right? I'm really excited about the passion and the fire in the eyes of some of our new warriors and some of our Native sisters that are really putting themselves out there. And that's the thing, is it's got to be the commitment to progress the movement, to really work on sovereignty and Native liberation, right? It has to be a priority. Yeah. So this organizing of this council, I know it may not sound like much right now, and I know that we're just getting started, but the end game here is to really affect change through legislation, affect change through lobbying, affect change through community engagement, just all of these different avenues to bring awareness to our people and rekindle that fire, right? That was burning.
Oh, well
so
said,
brightly.
Maya. Well
Yeah.
said.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm really excited.
You
So
are, and I love it.
I am. I'm super, super excited. I'm very motivated. We've got a great, great group of women here, and our counterparts, you know, our Native men that are also organizing. Just exceptional men to really look up to and get that guidance for our young ones too, right? So that makes me Misty. Hi, Misty. That's my sister too. She's such a sweetie. Yeah, I'm really excited about everything that we have to kind of work toward, right? Because I think that united, we're going to be able to get a lot of stuff done.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So there's that. There are other issues that I kind of wanted to touch on this evening. And some of them include some stuff that I've been seeing lately on the social media platforms, right? In terms of the representation of us Native women and how we are being represented by a select few of younger sisters who may or may not understand that they really do what they do is a representation of us as a collective. Right? Collectively.
Right.
And I've heard from a few of my sisters who have brought some stuff to my attention in terms of some of these younger ones who are, you know, parading around, marauding around, right? Trying to bring, trying to bring attention to certain issues, but doing it in a way that really is not, it's not our way. It's not respectful. And really it takes away and distracts from the issues that we're trying to bring light to. So, oh, little cat, how cute.
And you know, Maya, I think I shared with you, like at Standing Rock, when we went up to Standing Rock, I went with Dennis as a legal observer. But, you know, and he was a generation pretty much, he was 27 years older than me. But he told me, he says, you're going to be presenting yourself as a Native lawyer. He said, you're going to be before, not just, you know, because we didn't have any press cameras. We were blacked out at that point. He said, but you want to present yourself well to our guests that came from around the world. So he picked out my outfits like every night for the next day to make sure that I wasn't dressing too provocative.
Yeah. And so I think that's a huge thing. All of us, you know, both our allies and our Native women, us as Native women, we understand that we aren't a monolith, right? We are not one size fits all. Every tribal nation has its own sovereign government, or, you know, should anyway, have its own sovereign government with its own rules and regulations, with its own ceremonies, with its own belief systems and creation stories. But outsiders see us, they see one of us, and they think they see all of us. And that's the problem that I have with some of the stuff that I've been seeing is, you know, when we're trying to bring attention, for example, and I'm not going to name any creators on here because I promised I was not going to do that. I promised I was not going to, you know, single anyone out. But when we are trying to bring attention to things like the residential schools and our babies being found, right? Or the black snake and the pipelines, and we're trying to bring attention and information and education out there about that. Or we're discussing things like, you know, ICWA, or we're discussing things like the MMIW issues, right? And we're doing it through a very sexualized image of Native women, you know, scantily dressed, sopping wet in the middle of a river, right?
Oh no.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like, are the men that are looking at this focusing on the issue at hand, or are they too busy focusing on other things and
other issues?
Right, other issues that don't have anything to do with the issue. And let me say this, I am not about respectability politics. I do not like to tell people what to do or not do with their body. That is their body, their choice. They do with it what they will. My problem is when what they're doing is a reflection of me. And that's the problem that I have with it. Or when what they're doing is actually hindering the exposure of an issue or the attention to a problem we're trying to tackle within the Native community, because the attention is going somewhere else.
No, you bring up, I'm so glad you were bold enough to broach the subject, because I think it's very important. Yeah. How you present yourself to the world, it's important. And especially, as you say, we know we're not a monolith or a monolithic group. But when you have younger women who are representing us, that's fine. But please remember, you're representing us, and there's it's just respect, and we're all about that in the Indian community. We're not afraid to say we respect our elders. Yep. We're not afraid to say respect is still cool.
Yes, absolutely. And we're not afraid. And we talked about this a little bit, I think, last time. We're not afraid to say that we respect each other as Indigenous sisters. And that means the way that we approach, for example, a Native man who, within the community, it's not, we don't approach our counterparts in a sexualized or even in like a super comfortable way. You know what I mean? We really do go through our women folk and our elders and our sisters. If there is a Native a gentleman within our community who is married, we don't reach out to that person privately. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's not something that we do as a community, as Native women. So I'd like to hear a little bit from our panel about what their thoughts are on that, and how, what they've come across or seen in terms of the representation of us as Native women, and how that might be being misinterpreted by those that are seeing that, right?
I think, at least on social media, it's a catch-22. It's a catch-22. They're getting the views. It's getting pushed out there, and that's what's being seen by non-Native people, and that's what gets the clout, not just for their pages, but for the movement. Do I agree with that? No. I was not raised that way.
Right.
But like I said, it's a catch-22. So I think, really, as someone, I'm a millennial here, so reaching out to the young ones in a way to show them that's not our ways. Push a more respectful way. It's not about like you can do what you do on your platform on your own, but if you're representing a movement, it's because people think we are a monolith, be respectful to that aspect. Because you're not representing yourself on your platform if you're going to promote a certain Indian movement. You're representing us all. And it's education for me.
Well said.
How to reach out to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Amy, thoughts?
Can you guys hear me first off? My mic has been acting up. I agree fully with Callie. I mean, honestly, because like I said last week, again, it is a catch-22, and we got to be careful of how we approach things with them, because they're going to get upset if we approach it in a way that is going to come off harsh or really brass to them, and it could actually flip on us. So if Aunt Callie can maybe steer them in the direction, because being the millennial, I'm 47. If I say something, they're going to look at me like I got 3 heads. And that's just, but I brought this up. Like I said, they are sexualizing Native women, and it's got to stop. But, like Aunt Kelly said, it's a catch-22. They are doing it for the likes. They want people to get their videos, and they're getting, because that's how they can get the likes and get that pushed out there. and go beyond, catch other people's attention. Oh, well, she's hot. Damn. All right, I'm going to like that video. I don't know what she's talking about, but I'm going to like it, and then it's just, that's the way it is. But it's got to be presented in a way that's not going to upset anybody, because I feel it could actually backfire on us and kind of hurt us. So we got to be really handle this situation with kid gloves. We got to approach it. We have to talk about it like we're doing now and figure out how we can approach it with kid gloves. Because we also don't want to insult them, but they do need to be aware of what is going on and what we are seeing.
I was going to say, exactly, I mean, hit the nail right on the head.
They're kids to me. They are, because I'm 47. They're young, they're young kids. And I know what they're trying to do. They're just, they want to get the word out. And, they find their glitch. They find their rhythm. And that's what's working for them. So that's what they're going to do. That's just my opinion. But we got to handle it with kid gloves.
It's tough, too, because it's kind of mixed in this, feminist, distorted viewpoint. And so, but like you said, that I come from the belief that, constructive criticism is rarely constructive. And so you really do, anything that's interpreted as really criticizing is gonna backfire, because the neurology behind it is just that you tend to hold closer to your beliefs when something that differs from them comes at you at an aggressive way.
Right.
We're talking about clothing and apparel. I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say something that I guess it's a personal pet peeve, but to me, I would think it's a big deal to a lot of people, language. And that is, I'm uncomfortable a lot of times. I can't get past the bad language. And I'm surprised to say, I see the bad language more with females than I do with the males. And I do think that when you're trying to get content out there in a message, that you can, when somebody's being really vulgar, it kind of, at least it does for me, I get tripped up on the words and I miss the message.
Yeah. You know what? I'm the first to admit that I am so guilty of that. I think that when I see, it's hard for me when I see, for example, something that makes me angry. Emotions run high and I lose sight of my tongue. I really do. And I'm the first to admit it. And you're absolutely right. That may not be the appropriate way to go about things, because are they really hearing what I have to say, or are they just getting defensive about how I'm saying it? Right. So that is a valid point. And to Callie's point, Aunt Callie's point, and Amy's point, it is a catch-22 and a double-edged sword at this, so to speak. But I also question, is it really putting the information out there? Once these videos come across someone's screen, right, about the pipelines, about whatever issue it is that they're touching on, right? Once that image goes across the screen and they see, dimples in someone's backside, or, cleavage, whatever it is, right? Whatever it is, scantily dressed person.
You obviously didn't see the young man's butt like I did, because you keep on bringing up females. I saw a guy's butt, not a girl's.
Oh, wow. No, I saw a girl's butt. But are you really, is the information and the issue really sticking with you? Or are you just oh, I remember that. That's that one video with the girl that's naked in the water.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Are you really is the meat of the issue really staying with you? Is, I guess, my question.
I'll say, as someone
Hey,
who's
ladies,
not as
can I interrupt
familiar
just
with
a minute?
Indigenous, like,
Can I interrupt just a minute?
yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
gonna go. I keep getting kicked off. I'm having technical issues. When I come in, I don't know what's happening. I'm gonna go ahead and back out for the night, and I think it's because we went ahead and moved our Wi-Fi to the new place. So I love you guys. I will see you.
I love
next
you too,
week.
sweetie.
Hey, I am gonna DM you my number. I want you to call me, JoJo.
I would love to.
I love you so much.
You're doing a fantastic job out there, lady.
Take a number, sister. That's my new bestie. No, I'm just kidding.
Girl, she's the one I told you last week I wanted on.
I know.
Bless your heart.
I know. No, I'm joking.
Anyway, ladies, I love you all, and I'm not trying to be a jerk. It just keeps kicking me off, and it's just not being stable with me tonight. So I love you all. I will see you next week.
Night, Mama.
Alrighty.
Good night, Mama.
Good night. Yeah, so I personally don't think that you really get the meat of the issue. I don't think it stays with you at all. I think it's something that's like a flash bomb that goes off in your head with maybe, you know what I mean? And then later on, you don't even remember what the video was about. You just remember the naked butt. That's it.
That's what I was gonna say. I'm more new to like Indigenous everything, and so when I first kind of came into like TikTok in itself, like I'm very much like a research minded person, and so to see all these like videos that had these tiny little like snapshots at like, or these like alluding to little issues, like I'd see something about a colonizer, I'd see something about a black snake, I'd see something about a pipeline, but I was like, why is no one linking like where I can find all of this? I was like, what the heck is this about? I was getting so frustrated.
Yeah,
that's a really good point you bring up.
Yeah, absolutely.
A very good point.
Yeah.
And I think with like social media, and I've said this on my platform before, it can be used as a tool to amplify our voices. We're only like, 1.2% of the population. And we're trending as a small population, meaning that our messages, whether it's comedy, whether it's now we have reservation dogs, or our issues concerning very other serious issues, we're trending. We're getting our voices heard, and it's being amplified through social media. And just like, you said, where to put the links, where to do all these things, but also where I'm starting to like many of y'all that have seen my contents from the beginning, I get a lot of flack from conservatives. I get a lot of flack from non-native people about stereotypes. And I do see that quite a bit on our platform. Not our humor. We have our own little humor, but I'm talking about the stereotypes they've put on us, to where some people that do talk about issues pertain to stereotypes as well. And I think this is an educational moment to where we can talk to our younger ones. Like I said before, people do not know about Native culture, that we are not a monolith. We know we're not a monolith. They don't. They all think we wear headdresses and dance around in the fire all day long. That's what their thoughts are of us. They think we still communicate with smoke signals and and stuff like that. So to get away from that stereotype is to understand that we need to educate the younger ones on, you are representing an entire community, not just a tribe, not just one issue. But if you're going to talk about an issue, yes, use your platform. If you're a young one and you have 1 million followers, 200, 500,000 followers, and you're going viral every time you're posting, you don't need to have your ass in there, because you represent us all.
That's yes.
But at the same time, educate them to understand that we are not body shaming. We're not doing we're not censoring. We have to, if we want to be represented as a respectful people, it also starts with our young ones too. And we cannot give any leeway to any outsiders that continue or contribute to the stereotype that we have when they see something that goes viral. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. It absolutely makes sense. And actually, one of the other issues that I wanted to touch on, you kind of segued to it right now, Aunt Callie, in terms of stereotypes. I don't know if any of you kind of caught the video today of somebody doing a whole face painting as Pocahontas, or, you know, she was doing the whole Colors of the Wind song, right? And
Is this a native chick was doing this, or a non-native?
I don't think she was a native chick. I think she was a non-native woman, and she was asked to do this Disney, you know, Disney thing, or like a whole makeup chest painting piece.
Wow.
Of Pocahontas. And of course was called out in her threads for, you know, sexualizing a child, because we all know I don't know if we all know, but the true story of Pocahontas. And I'm not, Amy, can you help me out with her? I don't remember how to pronounce her name. Is it Matuaka? Matuaka?
I think you got it.
Right?
Yeah.
So as a child, she was raped, stolen from her tribe, taken to Europe, right?
Yep.
Where she ultimately died, I think at like the age of 21 or something, 20 something. She was very young. She died of disease in Europe, and that is where she is to this day. You know, she never made it back to her people, her homeland. And so when we see these types of you know, expressions, right? These colors of the wind and makeup tutorials on how to look like Pocahontas. I think what struck me the most, obviously, aside from the initial disgust, because, you know, knowing the story behind it, was the fact that the video had damn near 70,000 likes. So,
wow.
That tells me that there is, and I don't, you know, it might be willful ignorance. It might just be a lack of research on behalf of people. But this video had damn near 70,000 likes. And there's people obviously that are like, Pocahontas is my favorite Disney princess. And, you know, I'm like, well, that's really unfortunate, because, you know, nothing about her story is Disney anything, you know?
Yeah.
So we're constantly dealing with that stuff too, and trying to educate and filter through all that garbage. And we try to acknowledge it, right? We try to address it. But what do we do when these what do we do when these content creators double down, right? When we address it and we say, listen, you don't know the story behind this character that you're emulating right now, that you're doing this whole skit on right now. And we would appreciate it if you take this down, because it's really offensive. And then they double down and they're like, well, no, I grew up on Pocahontas. Pocahontas is, so I just want to hear from you guys. Like, how do you think we can go about addressing these types of issues with these content creators? I see Aunt Kelly's like ready to just give me her income.
Well, because one of my main, so this was during the Redskins issue last year. And so there was a big movement of changing mascots and stuff like that, right? So I did a blind react, and I haven't seen anybody do a blind react. I don't know how, whatever, but I did a blind react, and I did, you know, I smudged, I blessed myself before I did, because I knew I was going to catch a lot of shit. Braided my hair, I came into this video prepared, you know.
She
And
said,
so-
I sought counsel with the ancestors before I
had
did
to.
this.
Because I felt it, and what I did was like, you know, I looked all native and shit. Sup, fuck. but so I got on there and I said, hey, stop scrolling. I want you to blind react. So I'm going to give you time to press pause and then do the blind react thing. And so the person would do their little thing right there. They blind reacted. And I'm like, okay, I want you to repeat after me. But I want, like, basically my video was like, you're calling me a redskin. I looked all native and deadly. And the most, that got like almost 2 million likes.
Wow.
It went viral.
Wow.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And as soon as the Redskins changed their name, I took the video down. Obviously, it wasn't really needed anymore.
Right, relevant.
Yeah. Things like that. I don't want to say follow that lead, but how you snuff out ignorance. Because if a creator is doubling down, they're doing that for their content. They're more than likely they're getting paid by TikTok. They're getting paid by viewership. They're getting paid by their Venmos, Cash App, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So they're doubling down because it's their money and it's their fame. A lot of people think that a lot of social media issues are fame, right? This is going to get them out there. But if you counter it in some way, shape, or form that educates the masses rather than calling them out all the time, you're going to start in the comment section, the people that see your videos educating, you're going to start seeing the comment section going ham on some people. But it just takes patience. So like after the Redskin video, man, I did have people call me a Redskin because they didn't understand what it was. But when I would go to their video, I would see people that understood what Redskin meant, not natives. I'm talking about all other races, even across the world, Australia, New Zealand, UK. They're like, why did you say that? Why did you do that? This is what this is. This is what this means.
Yeah.
And then if they go back to my content, they would see that, and this was during the time of the Redskins, they would see what a Redskin was.
Yeah.
What this really meant. And so when you see like the football team hashtag Redskins, you saw a bunch of native people using that hashtag, educating what the Redskin was. You know what I mean? And so when it comes to a content creator doubling down, number one, it's important when it comes to social media, it's important to flood the hashtags with education. But it's also, you have to also put yourself in a point of vulnerability, knowing that you're going to get some freaking hate. You know, you're going to get some hate. But that's nothing new to us native people, really. Let's be real.
Sure.
So we should have some thick skin going on here.
500 plus years of hate. Yeah, we got this.
So whatever they say, really, we haven't heard before since we were like kids, you know. But at the same time, when it comes to social media and navigating that, flooding the hashtags and educating. And I think Modern Warrior does a really good job doing that when it comes to flooding hashtags and such things. There's another content creator, Native Women Run. She's a Navajo runner.
Yes, I watch her. Yeah.
Yes. She gets out there, and whenever you like put a hashtag in, most of the time you'll see her at the top of the page. Sherry McKay, all these other Native content creators. So when it comes to the Pocahontas or the cultural appropriation, it takes an effort as a community to flood these hashtags so that when those creators double down, their comment section, most of the time, if you notice, they'll start turning the comment sections off.
Yeah. What do you mean by double down? I don't know what you mean. I'm sorry. I'm new to TikTok.
By double down, they're going to keep the content up because they're either getting monetary views, like they're making money off of the views and the likes, and most of the time the likes that they're getting is like perverts. Let's just be real. I'm going to be honest. They're the pervs. They're out there. They're liking it. But what's called in TikTok, and I've noticed this, and I've learned about this. It's called being ratioed. Ratioed means you have more comments than you have likes, and that's not good for your page. So that's why those content creators turn off the comment section, because they're being ratioed, because it's hurting their money. It's hurting their money.
Their algorithm goes down. They're not as seen. Yeah.
Instagram works on the same method.
I do not understand TikTok at all. All I do is make a video and post it and pray. You know, I don't know what to do.
That, like, when you start navigating it, like me, I've been shadow banned for almost a year. I get mass reported all the time, especially after the red.
I mean, who would mass report you? I mean, seriously, I don't understand that.
All the haters who don't like what I want
it was mostly during the Trump administration is when I caught a lot of wind on that side of TikTok. Right. But when it comes down to it, I learned from that very first viral video I made. Like I said, 2 million likes, whatever, and it went viral. Just having people, I had them point at the screen on me, and I was like, okay, are you ready to point? You got it? You're pointing at me, right? And you see these people like doing this, and they're like, yeah, I'm pointing at you. And I was like, okay, repeat after me. Ready? Redskin. Now point at me. And most of the people were like,
I can't do that.
No. Okay.
Right.
So if it's not that bad, then why is it a mascot? You're pointing at me. You don't want to call me a redskin to my face, but you don't mind cheering. You don't mind cheering, but you ain't gonna say to my face as an indigenous woman. You ain't gonna call me a redskin because you know it's bad, and that's how we have to educate people. You know it's bad. You know it is. But if the content creators that are doubling down, that's where you start flooding the hashtags. That's where you start educating and using. Because as soon as they start turning the comment sections on, they might keep the video up, and those are the pervs liking videos. But at the same time, let's just be real, it is. But the reason why they're turning their comment section off is because those that are being educated by us are sitting there, take this down. And it's not Native people. It's white, black, Asian, Muslim. There's a lot of people that are going to hurt for us. You know what I'm saying? They're in the comment section. This is terrible. No. They're flooding their ratio to that content. And that's what the ultimate goal is, to ratio that content. They might keep it up. They might stay up, but they ain't making money off of it. And at the same time, the hashtags that they've used, we're flooding the hashtags.
Oh. Well, TikTok, I'm sure there's going to be, those dummy series, TikTok for dummies, and I'll buy that. Because I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, I think it's important too to kind of like circle back to the subject we were talking about before. And that's a lot of what they're trying to do is beat the algorithm. So sometimes being scantily clad or using code words like black snake helps push past the algorithm, and you don't get censored or suppressed or shadow banned or those kinds of things. Although,
what is shadow banned? I'm sorry to interrupt. What is shadow banned?
No one sees your videos when you make them or likes them. It basically takes you off the For You page altogether, where I'm at right now.
Well, I mean, who does TikTok do that?
No, it's the amount of reporting and people not reporting your videos or anything that you have tagged that they don't like or that's part of their algorithm. Like she said, keywords that you put in there, line 3, all that stuff that TikTok says, nope, we don't want this on there. BLM, all this stuff. And they don't put your
I didn't know that.
Some videos go under review before ever even being seen. So it's not just people reporting, it's TikTok as well.
Yep. So you're saying that if you put what would I call it? Like if you put a key phrase in, like line 3, you're saying not to do that or to do that?
You really shouldn't. Just to remind you, it gets suppressed. So that's why you'll see like emojis for it, or it's all code words. TikTok is horrible at it. I mean, horrible.
Yeah, I haven't even been using hashtags except for maybe like Native American or something. But I don't even use hashtags anymore. And if I call out a content creator, I haven't called out one quite a bit, but I'll use the same hashtags they're using to flood their hashtags.
Wow, you guys have really like figured this puppy out.
It just all depends on what you do. And going back to what she was talking about before, I wanted to point out something also that I mentioned in a live last week, that we have a live on Fridays that we go into with Little Wolf. And we were talking about how to reach the young people and how to get them to understand what our message is and how to protest, how to get the messages out there and all that kind of stuff. And I mentioned this, they don't care what our generation has to say. I've watched a couple of videos where in the comments it has been said that the older generation's way of protesting and spreading information no longer works. And they don't want to know how to do that. They're going to do it their way and how they see that it works. And that's it. They don't want to be educated. They don't want to know, how to effectively protest, how to have the etiquette when you're protesting. They think protesting in prayer is getting in a cop's face and screaming pig.
Or throwing things at the cop.
Exactly. That's what they think effective protest means. And that for them is protesting in prayer. And the problem with that is they've got people who they're older than them. They're teaching them this. They're following that example of what the others are doing. And they don't want to hear what we have to say. So trying to reach out to them and tell them, you know what, walking naked in a stream, 2 videos after you just did an MMIW video, what does that say? You just did an MMI video talking about murdered, missing, and Indigenous women, and now your ass is naked in a stream? Pardon my French, but I'm one of those people that when I get mad, it kind of comes out. But
no, that's appropriate.
It just really annoys me that they're doing that, but they don't want to hear anything that anyone has to say. It's how they want to do it, and that's it. And reaching out to them.
I think they're totally into the glamour of it. They think that you wake up one day and you go out to line 3 and you're a water protector. No, you're not. You earn that. You have to earn that title. They're stealing.
Line 3 was native Woodstock. We all know exactly what it was. It was native Woodstock. That's basically what it was. And I'm sorry if that offends anyone in the room or anyone on live. I'm sorry. That's exactly what it was. And it just became one of those things that got way out of control. And that's how they see protest. And it just doesn't make
I'll tell you, sister, you know what worries me about them? I mean, I'm afraid for their safety. When you're out there, if they think it's cool to throw things at cops, somebody's going to get hurt. And as much as they bug me, I don't want one of these young people to get hurt because they're that ignorant.
Yeah. I was just going to say that too. Oh, good night, Amy. Amy's having issues too with StreamYard.
I agree with you, Joe. Sorry, Maya. I agree with you, Joe, to a certain extent. But as a woman who has kids and grandkids, sometimes you need to let them pull that hot thing off the stove. Sometimes you need to let that baton smack them in the face to let them realize.
I don't mind the baton smacking them. I'm just afraid somebody would get killed or something because those police do have guns. Yeah. They don't get that this is real life. This isn't social media. This is real life.
That's a young person. They don't understand that. They think that they're not going to get hurt. Well, I'm sorry. That's not how police force works. That's not how that happens. If they want to hurt you, they're going to hurt you.
Yeah. And I'm 43 years old and I am not a fan of the police at all.
Me either.
But I also remember what it was like to be 19 years old and think that I knew everything. Right?
Yes.
Like when you're 19, you think you're invincible. You think nothing can touch you. And it's just like Tammy says, it's one of those things you got to live and learn.
But you know what? Let me just add this though. We're saying when you were 19, when I was 19, I'm 57. I will tell you this though. There was definitely some things I was afraid of. And that was my dad.
Oh, sure.
That he would kill me. And I would have never picked up anything and thrown it at a law officer.
Yeah.
being from a reservation and stuff, we were taught at a young age, you know, that if they say kiss the ground, do whatever to get out of their custody, you know, just get out of the stop alive, and then we'll worry about it later. But these kids seem to think that, and I gotta say, I think the police, because of the BLM movements, their restraint has been so much greater than it was at Standing Rock. The police are like actually kind of, you know, they're very different than it was at Standing Rock.
Absolutely.
They're not understanding is, and we touched on this with media. The media is not going to portray a brown or a black kid maybe getting harmed first by the police. They're going to put the narrative as the brown or black kid did this first.
Yeah.
And media is important. It's propaganda. Smedley Butler put it very, very clearly in War is a Racket back in the day. This is not a new game.
Yeah.
So when it comes to these big movements that indigenous people have or any other people have, when it comes to law enforcement, appearance is everything.
Yep.
Because you cannot give them an inch to flip the narrative. That's what I think a lot of the younger ones are not understanding. You cannot give them an inch to flip the narrative because the media will sure as hell do it.
Yep, they will run with it. You're absolutely right. And you know what, Kelly, that's one of the reasons that we had such a huge problem with that Camp Migizi nightmare that was going on, all that craziness that was happening, is because the information that was getting put out there in terms of, you know, possible drug use at the camp and things like that, that stuff is, you know, when things like that come to light, the first thing they're going to do is, oh, this group of, you know, drug addicted Indians out here at this camp. This is not about the water. This is not about the pipelines. This is just a free for all for them to freeload, you know, in that area and get high, you know.
Native Woodstock.
Yeah, it's right. You're absolutely
only they're asking for funding, and they're getting it from donations.
Right.
And that's kind of what bugged me.
Yeah, absolutely right. And so can you imagine then the media getting a hold of information like that and then running with it? The entire movement is then compromised, right?
Absolutely.
Because of what's happening in this one location. So absolutely, Kelly, you're totally right. You know, we cannot give them an inch of reason to believe that we are not on the up and up in terms of our activism. Because once we do, it discredits and it's a disservice to the entire movement. So
here, very good, very well said.
Yeah. So, ladies, we are pushing 2 hours. And,
yeah,
you know,
I'm gonna fall asleep.
yeah, we're pushing 2 hours. I think
I'm already in my bed.
Yeah, I know. That's where I'm about to be in a minute. Except my kids again are like, "I'm starving, Mom. Food." So. I love you all. I appreciate you all being here. Like we had a rough start. We did. But you know what? We got it together, and I think we talked about a bunch of really important stuff. And there's more to talk about. Actually, I see a comment in here in our private chat from Jacqueline that says, "I've seen young people ridicule evidence-based research, saying they're enlightened." LOL. Yep. So true. So true. And that, you know what?
What did it say? What did you say? Can you repeat it?
Yeah, she said, "I've seen young people ridicule evidence-based research, saying they're enlightened." So, and you know what? I think that on our next council, or one of our next councils, we're going to discuss some of the topics Lakota Guy goes after a lot, which are these ethnocentric pseudoscience, you know, Black folks that seem to think that they are the original folks of this land, that we are Siberian and we are settlers here, is what they try to push. That's the narrative they're putting out there. And it's funny that Jacqueline mentioned that, because in the live, so I sit also, I go on with Lakota on on a couple nights a week, he does his American Indian Defense League, where we actually debate these pseudoscience folks, and we go back and forth with factual evidence, right?
They're crazy.
Right. Factual. Oh, yeah. Tammy's been in some of those lives, man. It's a riot.
I took over for you last week when you left, actually.
Yeah. You know what? I appreciate you, sister. I appreciate you. But some of the things they say, like DNA is pseudoscience, they say. DNA is not real.
You can see it through a microscope.
Yeah. I was like, what? DNA is not, that's not a thing. And I'm just like, I'm pretty sure DNA is like an actual real scientific thing. You know what I mean? So yeah, like some of the stuff that they say in terms of actual scientific research and information, like there is no scientific evidence whatsoever that there was any African people here prior to first contact, right? Prior to 1492. But yet they'll argue that, you know, Pangea was 330 million years ago. There were no humans during the time of Pangea. So how that ended up happening, I don't know.
Well, you know what's really strange to me is I've seen some of these people put up a picture, and my grandfather was that dark. It's a really dark native, but it's obviously probably a Lakota because they have a distinct look. Sure. But they've been baking out in the sun on the prairies, and like I said, my grandfather was that dark. And then they'll say, "See, he's black."
Right.
And I'm thinking,
yeah. Or they'll Photoshop pictures of like Pretty Nose, and they'll like superimpose different features on her. And
I didn't know they do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
yep,
yeah.
They do.
And so the thing with us, though, is, listen, we know we have Afro-Indigenous brothers and sisters. We love them. We know we have Afro-Indigenous brothers and sisters. They are our relatives, our family. But, you know, our problem is with those that seem to think that they're the ones that, you know, came here and are the original people of the Western Hemisphere, and they built all the pyramids here, and we're the ones that, you know, colonized them. And so it's like, where are you even coming up with this crazy?
Well, today I found.
Go ahead.
They call white people albino blacks.
Well, I
don't even want to give them the time of day. I think it's a waste to even address them.
Colored. So I had a fresh new 2001 penny in one of my videos. I put it on my leg. The damn penny disappeared, and I'm like, okay, so that should stop the debate, right? That should stop it. Right? In one of my videos, I'm like, it's okay. Here's copper colored. Here, this is copper. It's copper.
Yeah.
And here's the reason why
that penny like disappeared straight up on my leg. I'm like,
right.
Yeah. Here's the reason why it's so important to go against these people. If you have watched any videos recently by Alex Faith, you need to watch the recent one where she was threatened to be raped by a man. He openly threatened her. It was
You mean one of these people did that are asserting all this stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm trying to get in contact with her because I tracked down some information on this person, and it's a Moor who's doing it.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah.
And this guy is so it's like, that's the reason why we have to go against them, is because they think it's okay to come after, and the Hebrew Israelites think it's okay to come after Indigenous women because they are a lower human form than they are.
Wait a minute, is that who this is?
Yeah.
The whole
Do you guys remember? I have to tell you this. Do you guys remember Nathan Phillips at the Capitol with the kid with the MAGA hat on?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was there, okay? I was there that day. I saw everything that happened. It wasn't Nathan's fault. I don't think it was the kid's fault. You know who started it all?
It was the Israelites.
Yes, I saw them over there.
I watched
in the corner. They started it all.
Yep, they did.
Good night,
They egged that
Jacqueline.
kid on to go over there.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
no. So I think that's going to be a topic for another council. And
Okay.
honestly, I think you're right. Usually I would tend to agree with you, like what a waste of time. Unfortunately, they have a huge following.
See, I
And
didn't know that. I
people-
just thought it was a couple
Massive.
quack.
Oh no,
No.
people are listening to them. People are believing the pseudo science nonsense that they're pushing. And as their following grows,
Wow.
misinformation is being pushed out there. And so yeah, that's why we do it. But
Okay,
anywho,
because I was wondering why you guys were even dealing with them. I had no
No.
idea it was a huge following.
Several famous people, and Ice Cube just did an interview, not Ice-T, different guy. Ice Cube just did an interview saying that he supports it and he's Native and Indigenous because the blacks were here first.
yeah, that's what he said.
He said he had a little engine in him.
Yes, that's it.
Those were his exact
One.
words. He had a little engine in him.
Oh,
A little
Lord.
But
engine.
like, no,
Okay.
So,
honestly, with
Yeah.
my ex-girlfriend, she's biracial, she's black and white, and she went to the store, and she was approached by an Israelite, and they asked her what her father was or whatever, and I like whispered to her, I was like, "Don't listen to these guys, dude. Don't listen." And like the guy interrupted me. He goes, "But what the hell are you?" And I said, "I'm indigenous. I'm Native American. I'm an American Indian." And he goes, "Oh, so you're the tribe of Gab?" I'm like, "No, I'm the tribe of Chata. I'm the tribe of Chata."
they come to Cleveland
goes,
all the time.
Yeah, and my ex-girlfriend was sitting there like, no, she was like, no, you're not gonna sit here and talk to her like this. Like, like she stood up for me or whatever. But like, yeah, like they straight up tried to tell me you're the tribe of Gab, and I was like, I'm the tribe of Chata. Chata, yeah, okay. Like, no, and no, I'm Chata. And they just were pushing it so hard.
Oh, yeah.
Hard, but they're outside of stores, they're outside of everywhere. They have a huge movement.
I'm surprised, Kelly, I'm surprised your ex didn't say, what the hell is the tribe of Gad?
She was raised Pentecostal, so she knew a lot about like kind of that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they tried to tell her what her tribe was as a black woman. So she was like, "No, my mom's white, my dad's black. We came from like she knows her ancestry. She came from Cameroon. That's where her ancestry is. So she was very fortunate enough as a black woman to know where her people come from.
Yeah.
And so she was like, "No, my dad's family comes from Cameroon and my mom's white. Like, no, that I don't understand these. That's not the tribe that I was taught." And I'm over here like, "No, I'm Kata. I'm not Gab. I'm what the hell is a Gab?
Yeah.
What is that?
That would have been my answer. My response. I would have been like, what the hell is a Gad?
Yeah, like what is that? I don't understand. What's the culture to that? Like Chimichokma, like is that the language I have to speak? I don't know.
Oh my God. Well, ladies, I love you all. I appreciate you. I thank you. And again, as I do every time that we get together to do this women's council panel discussion.
Yeah, let's get some work done, guys. We got work to do. I said we got work to do.
We do. We have work to do. We always have work to do. But I do want to always, like I do every time we close up, acknowledge our ancestors, acknowledge my grandmother who sits with me every time we sit council and we discuss our issues. All of our ancestors sit with us and guide, and also, their knowledge is alive through us. And so I always want to take a second to kind of recognize that, because my grandmother in my life is a huge, rest her soul, was a huge, impact on my life. And so her teachings live within me and through me. And my hope is that your ancestors' teachings also live within you and through you as well. I love you all, my sisters. I cannot wait to see you guys again. Hopefully, are we doing this next Monday again? I don't know if we should do it again next Monday or the Monday after. I don't know what everybody's feeling like. Let me
Message.
Next Monday. Hey, there she is. I thought you fell asleep.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm getting kicked off now for some reason.
Oh,
All right,
no.
just give me a message and I'll see what's up. I'll let you know.
Okay. All right.
I should be free.
Cool.
I'm not sure
so
I'll be here
Jojo,
next Monday.
Okay. Jojo, I wanted to also say, like, thank you so much. Thank you. I hope and pray that you will continue to be a part of our council.
Absolutely. I've had a blast.
Yeah. And like I told them just now, every time I close up the panel discussion, I always acknowledge our ancestors, my grandmother, who her teachings live with me and through me. And I hope and pray for all of my sisters that your ancestors live with you and through you, and their teachings live with you and through you as well. I love you guys very, very, very much. And I hope that we can do this again on Monday. I will send messages out. Tonight was like a real, excuse my language, but a shit show, because it was all last minute. I was on vacation. I couldn't get my life together. Next Monday will be a lot more organized. I promise you guys. Red Road Mom. Oh, Red Road Homestead. Hey, Mom. It's okay. Next week, next Monday. Love you. So yes, thank you all for being with me.
It was nice meeting
So
all you ladies.
I will send you a message then. Monday nights I think I'm available next Monday night. I don't know about the one after that, but I know I am next Monday night.
Okay. Well, let me know. I'll put the call out early, not, half an hour before it's supposed to start. So yeah, and I think it's B, is it Becky?
Yeah.
Becky, thank you so much
Either one.
for being with us. I'm
Yeah,
so
thanks for
happy that
having me.
you were able to join us, and hopefully you'll be able to join us again next week.
Yeah, definitely. I'm actually working on some stuff with getting some petitions started within tribal stuff for ICWA. So hopefully by next week I'll have some better stuff.
Shoot them my way. I'll share them.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll share them on my Facebook page
At
too.
TikTok. Yeah, shoot them our way. We got you.
Yeah.
We got you.
Yeah,
we get there.
And
I'll
I
let you guys
also
know.
have to say, Callie, when she was talking earlier about the Redskins video she did, and Callie was like, I looked all deadly, like I was all deadly for this. Callie, you're deadly every day, baby. What are you talking about?
Mom. Flattering me, this one is.
That's an everyday thing. All right, my loves, I love you all. Have a great night. We will see each other again next week, and you know where to find me. Yeah,
Okay, ladies.
Bye.
Have a safe week.
It was an honor.
Bye, guys.
It was an honor.
Bye.
Good night.
Let me see if I can do this. Good night.